Alrighty, so I'm gonna just kind of give a little overview of how everything will flow, and then we'll get going. So I am going to kick everything off, and then the students, we have four students today with us that all will ask a question. And then from there, we'll just have you answer. And then if we have time for more questions, kind of let us know. And then they have like more than one question prepared, but I kind of told them to ask their favorite first, and then we'll go from there. So that being said, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ebony Lewis. I am a student support staff here at Dominican High School, where I've been working very closely with staff, students, and families around issues of diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I've had the pleasure of being here since July and just really helping in that capacity. And that brings us to today. As we celebrate Black History Month, we thought that it would be really cool to talk about the topic of why representation matters. This year, we saw Kamala Harris be elected as vice president. We've seen, youth of color be and hold very high positions, and we really just thought it would be cool to talk about that, why it matters. And then also talk about Black history from the standpoint that history and her story is being made here in our own backyard every day. And so it's really important that we highlight the figures in our own community that are really making a difference in our community and really representing our who we are and our culture perfectly and well. So that being said, I am going to introduce to you all Alderwoman Milele Coggs. I'll read a little bit about her, and then I will let our students introduce themselves and then ask their questions. So just to start, Alderwoman Milele A. Coggs was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. After graduating from Riverside University High School, she attended Fisk University, where she graduated cum laude with a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration and English. Having grown up in a political family and after gaining a reputation as a renowned youth activist and motivational speaker, and after interning in the office of Wisconsin State Senator, Alderwoman Coggs was drawn to the study of law and ultimately decided to attend the University of Wisconsin Law School in Madison. Alderwoman Coggs has created, guided, and nurtured several beneficial programs in the city of Milwaukee. Alderwoman Coggs is the youngest woman ever elected to Milwaukee's Common Council and is the first African American female to ever serve as the chair of the powerful Finance and Personnel Committee. Alderwoman Coggs is married and is the proud mother of two, and I am extremely excited to know that I know her personally and well. I get to be a part of some of the awesome, amazing things that she does in the community. And so it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Alderwoman Milele Coggs. All right, and so our first student that will be introducing themselves and asking their questions is David.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is David Cooper, and I'm a junior at Dominican. And my first question for you would be, what was the thing that held you back the most? And is it still a challenge, or did you overcome it? And if you did, and how did you do it?
Professionally or personally?
Personally.
Ebony, do you all have a second? I have an emergency water main break at Hillside, and this is Waterworks calling me back. It's 150 people without water. Can you hold on 1 second?
We sure can.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, I think yeah, we're good. We're good. So David, just I'll reintroduce you if you want to re-ask your question for me. Just give me a nod if you heard me. Okay. Okay.
My apologies.
Please don't apologize. We just were saying we get to see government in action, so it actually is not a bad thing at all.
Right before we started, I got a call from the housing authority. One of the water mains broke at Hillside. So 4 buildings with about 150 people as residents don't have running water right now. And the original contractor they were using was not able to get to the pipes to fix it because of all of the snow. So I was asked to talk to our DPW, Department of Public Works, and Waterworks to see if it's anything that we could do that could help the contractor remove the snow, because they have to dig 7 feet down to get to the pipes that they needed to get to. And that was the person over Waterworks calling me back saying they had connected with the housing authority, and now they found a different independent contractor that is able to do the work. So hopefully within the next 12 to 24 hours, those residents will have water back running. In the meantime, I worked with Housing Authority and recommended to them that they provide bottled water for those families so that they do not go extended periods of time without water that is drinkable. But anyway, so that's what that was. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question so I can give you a good answer?
Sure. So my question was, what was the thing that held you back the most? And is this still a challenge, or did you overcome it? And if you overcame it, how did you do it?
That's a good question. I pride myself on not really looking at things as like a huge challenge. I think I recognized at a young age that, and my parents kind of and my family instilled in me that other things that others might look at as challenges, I just look at them as opportunities. But I will say this, I currently now am in an elected position. My family has been in elected positions for over 5 generations. We're a family of service, right? Growing up, because I had so many people in my family who served in elective office, adults would often say, what do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be a politician too? Over time, that rubbed me the wrong way. And I felt like I didn't want to go to politics because everybody was thinking that that's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to do what everybody else said. I'm going to practice law. I'm going to do other things. And it wasn't until my first semester in law school that what happened was, as we began to study legal cases, I began to realize that I could have a greater impact on helping to improve my community with the creation of the laws, being a person who helps to write them, than being a person that goes in a courtroom and argues about the interpretation of the laws. So it wasn't until that first semester in law school that I decided I needed to be in government and I needed to be writing laws, whether that meant elective office or not. It also made me begin to look at the challenge of my family history differently. I began to have a greater appreciation and understanding for the service that my family has given in politics and in writing laws and all of that kind of thing. And I began to look at it instead of like it being a hurdle or a challenge, I began to look at it like a good foundation that they set for me. And it's not that I have to follow in their footsteps, it's that I have a strong foundation to build on and create my own path. So I just kind of began to look at it differently. So it's not that the challenge of what people thought I should be doing and all of that wasn't there. It's that I began to see it less as a challenge and more as a foundation for me to build off of. So that's like a professional and personal one. I will give you one more that's probably very real, maybe to some of you. I grew up with a single mom who had to work 2 or 3 jobs to keep the lights on. But I knew I wanted to go to college. College is expensive. So I began to study how much college costs. I began to participate in poetry slams and pageants and anything I could that had cash prizes attached to it, and began to save money. And I'm busting my butt in school because I recognized that my mother wouldn't be able to pay for me to go to college. And that for me to go, I was gonna have to find the money somewhere. So I did all of those things. And senior year, I had an opportunity to take classes at UWM that would also give me college credit, and the school system paid for the classes. They paid for half the classes, and my mother and I paid for the other half. So that gave me some college credits early. I took a lot of AP classes and took some of the exams, which gave me some college credits early. Senior year, instead of working, because I had so many credits, I did a work study. I worked with the guidance counselor, the lead guidance counselor, who's the one who everybody sends the scholarships to. He put me over the scholarships. So every single scholarship that came into the school, I saw it. And I knew if I qualified or not. I applied for 30 different scholarships and got 8 of them that completely paid for my undergraduate education and gave me a down payment on a new car. So I was able to, and then when I went on college tours, I sold candy bars my sophomore and junior year to be able to afford to go on Black college tours because I knew I wanted to go to a historically Black college. I ultimately chose Fisk University. They gave me a tuition scholarship. That plus the 8 scholarships that I received helped to pay for my undergraduate education. So even though I came from a household that didn't have a lot of money, and that would be a challenge for me to get the education I wanted. I didn't let that stop me. And I did all those things I just named in order to ensure that I still had the opportunity to go get the education that I wanted. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that was an amazing answer, and it just made me kind of think of some trainings and workshops we've been doing here with the staff and how that really touched that point of continuing to push forward even though your circumstance may say you can't. And so I think it's important that our students hear that, especially from someone that looks like them, comes from where, you know, some of them may come from, because it really, I think, rings true that you can do it despite those things that may look like challenges. Next, we have Aries.
Hi, I'm Arias Alvarez. I'm a senior at Dominican, and my question is, who or what was your biggest motivation and inspiration to achieve what you wanted?
Wow. That's a good question. It's a lot of different things that I want to achieve, but let me think how I can answer this question. So I find inspiration in a variety of places, but the one person who is probably my greatest inspiration was, of course, my mother, because I feel like I learned so much from her, and she sacrificed so much for me, and never allowed. I just talked about all those scholarships I did. We didn't have a car growing up, so it was my mom who caught the bus to the downtown post office before 10 p.m. so that the scholarships would be postmarked on time. It was my mom who made sure my word processor, because we didn't have a computer at the time, had ink, so that as I typed up the essays and stuff, they would be done. She's the one who edited and proofread them and all of that kind of thing. So even though she didn't have the money to take me where I wanted to go, she provided what she did have to be able to, one, help me to dream of what was possible, but two, help me to do the constructive actions that needed to happen in order for me to get there. So I always say that the work I do both professionally and personally each day is kind of to make my mom proud.
Awesome. Next, we have Ayana.
Hi, my name is Diana, and I'm a freshman at Dominican. And one of my questions was like, who would you say that you actually like do this for? Like when you do it, who do you think of?
You mean the service work?
The service work.
Technically, each of us 15 members of the council represent 40,000 people within a specific geographic area. So technically, I'm doing it for them, those 40,000 people I represent. You will hear people in office often say, you know, I'm working for the people who got me here. So then you narrow that down to the several thousand people who vote. In my case, it's usually anywhere between 4,000 to 10,000 people who vote in any given election. So some people say it's for those people. And there are some who would say that I try to be the voice of the voiceless. So it's those members of the community who don't have a voice of their own. I'm here to represent them. All of that is true. But I also believe, just in general, that I'm representing my community. You know, I talk a lot about family, and my family raised me, but my family extends beyond my blood relations. I was raised very communal. Like, I wouldn't be the person I am if it wasn't for various people in the community who helped pour into me. So every day that I'm making decisions, I'm thinking about those people and what is best for the community as a whole. There are decisions that we have to make every single day that, based on my education, how much money I make, and who I married and how I married and all of that kind of thing, may not be an issue for me, but I have to always realize what is best for the people in the community. So for me, I'm always thinking about the community as a whole. And quite, if I'm being 100% transparent, I was raised in an African-centered household, which means that I believe like I am because we are. So it makes no difference if one of us is doing well, if all of us is not doing well. So as I approach my job, the service that I do, I think about everybody. Like, what are the things we could be doing to make sure everybody's straight? It doesn't matter if I give you a bandage on your toe if your arm is broken. You need me to bandage up your arm to help the body be totally whole. So that's the way I think of it. It's more like the community as a whole. And then in an even broader sense, even though we're 15 people who represent 15 different sections of the city, the truth is we serve the city of Milwaukee. We all represent Milwaukee. The decisions we make, everybody in Milwaukee is gonna have to live with. So in an even broader sense, I think about folks that live in Milwaukee, in this city, and that's what I represent. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that was awesome. And then next we have Sam.
Hi, I'm Samuel Bryan. I'm a sophomore at Dominican, and I was wondering, what do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment since you became an alderwoman?
Wow. That's a very good question. And a very hard one to answer. So let me say this. I have authored well over 700 pieces of legislation, which has impacted and brought millions of dollars of resources to folks in need, has created programming and things that have done everything from help people get employment, to support their families, to help buy a home. I don't know that there's any one piece of legislation or thing that I've done that I would hold out as the best thing. But I will say there is some connectivity to what is most memorable for me. And what's most memorable is, one, getting elected in the first place, because I was the youngest woman to ever do it. At a time when the council had 15 members, and for the 4 years before me, there had been no women. It was all men. So then when I got elected in 2008 at 30 years old, being the youngest woman, and for 8 years, I was the only one. I wanted to change that. one of the people who mentored me and advised me and whose record I broke by being 30, because the record before me was 32, was Val Phillips, the first woman and first African-American ever elected to Milwaukee's Common Council, who mentored me. I even ended up with the same office that she had when she was there, right? Because of all of that, it made me create something. Miss Ebony is very familiar with Girls Day at City Hall. I wanted to make sure that 20 years from now, it's not just one woman on the council. It is an array of women. And I thought the best way to do that is to show young ladies that they could have a career in public service as well. So we started doing Girls Day at City Hall, started with 38 girls. And then after 10 years, we've grown into almost 400 girls a year that get exposed to women in elective office, women in public service careers, and begin to expose themselves to believe if they too could, run for office someday. Many of the young ladies that started in our program are now in college and now studying fields of public service, and many of them are considering running for public office. So it's beginning to have the intended impact. A couple of years ago, Val Phillips passed away. And one of the things she wanted to do while she was alive and didn't do was get a street named after her. And although I didn't help her do it while she was alive, one of the things I committed myself to do was to make sure that she got that street named after her. So a couple of years ago, what once was called 4th Street in the city of Milwaukee, from Capitol to St. Paul, through downtown, which was huge because no street named after an African-American had ever gone to Milwaukee's downtown. Even Martin Luther King Drive had been cut off at McKinley at the time. And I was able to lead the charge to get the street named after her. Now, the council has 5 women. Never before in the history of the city has more than 4 women served at one time. We now have a street, the longest street in the state of Wisconsin, named after an African-American woman. And I am one of the most senior women on the council as well. So although it's not a one thing, it's a connectivity between, being the youngest and only woman to fighting so hard to make sure more women got this opportunity. And then we showcase, women. And so through Girls Day, through the Val Phillips Street, and through attracting other women to run for aldermen as well, I think I've successfully done that and will continue to do that. So that series of things is probably one of the things that I'm most proud of.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's like, I'm in awe. I feel like I like I said, I get the pleasure. So Girls Day at City Hall is one of the ways that I get to work with Alderwoman on a yearly basis, and I've been able to do that for several years. And so I'm grateful to be a part of that opportunity and to have watched it grow, and just for all the work that you do. I think that last answer really touched on why representation matters, why it's extremely important that we see ourselves in spaces thriving when we may not normally get to see that. And so I think you truly, truly represent that. I want to do a time check and see if you have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions.
Sure.
And then, David, you would go if you have another question to ask, and then we can kind of go.
Okay, so my second question is, if you had to look at your high school self right now, what would you say?
What would I say? If I had to look at my high school self, I would say take a little more time to enjoy the moment. I spent a lot of time in high school preparing for my future, which I have no regrets about because it helped to shape and mold my future. But it's funny because now I'm at an age where it really makes you reflect on life. So I think while I was planning so hard for the future, and I did have fun too, but I probably should have took a little more time to make sure I was just enjoying the moment.
Thank you for that. And then Aries.
My second question is, what advice would you give to others who want to achieve a political career?
People lead as they live. It's not like people get elected and go in office and they become something, or they begin to have certain characteristics that they display. If you know public service is what you want to do, with or without a title, begin to serve, do the work. I think people recognize when folks have a servant's heart, and if you already are displaying that, it makes getting into the position and executing the job that much easier. So that's on the service part, right? But what I will also say is politics is a science, and we have to become the scientists. Some of the greatest public servants I know probably will never be elected. And part of the reason that some of them will never be elected is because of the science of politics. You have to become the scientist. You have to understand how elections work. You have to understand how to fundraise. You have to understand how to calculate votes and how to get votes. You have to understand maps and how to read them. You have to understand all that goes into being a candidate. And then once you're there, you have to learn how to serve well. So I would say if people are interested in public office, they should begin to learn the science of politics. There are many trainings, both from national organizations and local, that take place. I would encourage people to go to trainings. I would also give some advice that former Senator Feingold gave me, and that is work on other people's campaigns so that you can learn and grow through that. And then when the time is right for a seat that you may be interested in, you will have the level of preparation necessary to run an effective race. And lastly, I would say, once you are there, once you get elected, never forget who you are there to serve.
Amazing answer. I think I'm sure all of the students on here are inspired and motivated, and we will use this with our other students and kind of share out with them so that they can get the answers as well and see that. And so to close us out, because I definitely want to be respectful of your time, and I know you have a lot going on, I would like to quickly introduce Mr. Friday, who's the campus minister. He's also over the school's Social Justice Committee, which is the students committee, and then as well as the Equity and Justice Committee, which are the staff. So it's two different committees that he helps run and serve on. And he'd just like to come on and just thank you for your time and for being here today.
It was great to hear all of your thoughts, Alderwoman Coggs, and thank you for taking out what sounds like, I mean, I'm sure every day is busy, I know, but even in a busier day today with, as you said before, service. And it was really kind of cool in action to see, government in action and you really serving and working for those in most need, on a frigid, snowy day. So thank you for your time. And this is kind of the first in our series of looking at why representation matters, particularly in Black History Month and even moving forward. And Monday, we actually have the privilege to spend some time with Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. So really excited. And then as well as just some other alumni and community members who get to share their story a little bit with some of our students and hopefully in the future too. So on behalf of Dominican and our faculty and staff, I just want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
For the students, I'll just give you a little tidbit. Since you're interviewing Mandela, I know him well. We worked together on some issues when he was an organizer here in Milwaukee. But his mom used to be my gym teacher in middle school. Small world.
That it is. Awesome.
It is. It is. Mandela and I actually grew up. We went graduated around the same time in high school, and when I reached out to him about the interview, the youth thought I was like the coolest person in the world. Like, how do you know Mandela? I'm like, I knew Mandela when, like back then when we were young and kicking it. So I thought that was kind of cool, but definitely small world. But just as Mr. Nate said, or as Mr. Friday said, thank you for all you do. Thank you for, doing this for us. I really appreciate it. And, wishing you well as you continue to do the great work that you do every single day. And I'm sure we will be in touch because I got asked to do something for you. And, if I get asked to do it, I will do it.
And I will also ask Ebony that you share my contact information, both the email and the phone number with the young people. Oftentimes when I speak to young people, you speak and then that's it. I try to make a connection. So if there is any assistance that I can give in the future for whatever your future goals are, feel free to give me a call or drop me an email. And just remind me that we met from Dominican during this interview. I'm more than willing to be of whatever assistance I can. And good luck in your future.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Peace.
All righty. Well, I think we are good. How you all feel? You feel good? Feel good? Learned a lot? Awesome. Well, we'll take this, we'll edit it, we'll share it out, and then you all will be featured in this as we share it out with the rest of the school, hopefully some family and faculty members, so that they can see, the great work that you all got to do in helping us highlight why representation matters and really highlighting Black History Month in our own backyard. So thank you all. I think the day is almost over, so I don't know where you guys have to go, but definitely enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.